Have you ever met a man so annoying, so beastly, so uncommonly abominable that you can't believe he's real? Chances are you have, because there are a lot of them out there, and there are as many today as there were in the day of Thomas Hardy. Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, this is part 2 in my series about Thomas Hardy. Last week I talked about the life of Thomas Hardy, who was a prolific writer in Victorian England. And while he is considered a proto-feminist and much of his writing is studied in modern feminist coursework, I took a look at his personal life to discover whether he is deserving of the title. So if you want to check out that video, go ahead and click here. And today I wanted to take a look into one of Thomas Hardy's most famous works and one of his most depressing. Yes, today we are discussing Tess of the D'Urbervilles, and more specifically, the 3 toxic male archetypes that are present in the book. If you've read the novel, I'm sure you already know who I'm talking about, but those 3 males are John Durbeyfield, Alec d'Urberville, and Angel Clare. Now, of course, this story is well over 100 years old, and there are going to be some spoilers in here, but if you've made it this far, I'm going to assume that you are familiar with the story and ready to dive into the depressing reality that comes with it. So let's dive into the story. Tess Durbeyfield is a lovely country maiden of 16, and she's the eldest of a gaggle of younger siblings, the youngest being a babe in arms. Her parents are Joan and John Durbeyfield. Her father, John, is a peddler. He takes the horse to market during the day and does his business, but unfortunately, he is a lazy drunk. So this brings us to the first toxic male archetype in Tess, her father, John. Oh, John, what a bumbling fool you are. Not only does he continually impregnate his wife with more children than he can possibly care for, he is a lazy, entitled, drunken fool. After hearing from the local parson that their family name, Durbeyfield, is a corruption of the old aristocratic Norman family, d'Urberville, he believes himself to be of noble blood and deserving of a better life. Rather than putting more effort into his work or perhaps upskilling into a trade to become a better man, he instead takes the news from the parson as a sign that he should go off and celebrate by getting drunk. As a result, he is unfit to go to market the next day, and Tess, knowing the enormous responsibility at hand, and knowing that missing a single day of market will have a great effect on the family, goes to the market in his stead. Sadly, she is so exhausted and unaccustomed to driving the horse and cart in the dark, she basically falls asleep at the wheel and crashes the cart, and it ends up killing the family's only horse. So, of course, as the reader, you see the great injustice here. Her father should have been the one responsible for the family. He should have been on that cart himself that morning. The accident that results from this shortcoming is the catalyst that sends Tess into a really disadvantaged and unfair life trajectory. Because her father still believes that they are descended from gentry, and because he is the foolish, entitled, and slothful excuse of a man that he is, rather than come up with a plan that involves hard work and effort, he sends Tess to go and claim kin. So what this means is they know of a nearby family with the D'Urberville surname. He sends Tess to go and speak to Mrs. D'Urberville and explain that, We're related, so therefore you have financial responsibility over our whole family. Not a great plan, but this is what happens. So again, our first toxic male archetype, the deadbeat dad. John Derbyfield failed in caring for his large family and instead sent his eldest daughter straight into the firing line. And things get more depressing from here, so buckle up. While visiting the nearby Mrs. d'Urberville and pleading their case, Tess meets Mrs. d'Urberville's son, Alec d'Urberville. This is the type of man that will give you the ick straight away. He may be well dressed and well put together, but he immediately starts advancing on Tess from the moment he sees her. Rather than feeling any kind of compassion for her situation or considering how he may actually help her, he sees her as a conquest. Alec employs Tess to look after his mother's poultry, and he spends every moment of her working day tormenting her, undressing her with his eyes, trying to seduce her, although she constantly rebuffs him. She is a pure, good-hearted young woman who is only there to take care of her family. She has no interest in Alec, and he tragically does not take no for an answer. One fateful night, on the pretense that he is rescuing Tess from a brawl at the local watering hole where she and some of the other servants gather in the evening, Alec rides her out to a remote area and he assaults her. And it's worth noting here that in order to appease his publisher, Thomas Hardy had to rewrite this scene many, many, many times. And because of that, because of how he words this scene, I think some people tend to misinterpret what happens here and try to claim that, oh, actually he just seduced her. No, I think it's very clear, it's beyond clear that this is an egregious assault, that she was not consenting and that there's no gray area here. So here we are at our second toxic male archetype, the predator. Alec is in a position where he could genuinely help Tess. He is well off, far more well off than she is. He's older. He could have simply employed her and left it at that. He could have raised her pay. He could have given her extra jobs. But no, because he is a spoiled, entitled coxcomb with no talent or ambitions of his own, the only way he gains a sense of self-worth is by dominating and subjugating women. Now, if you thought this story was already upsetting, just you wait. As a result of this atrocious assault, Tess becomes pregnant and the next summer gives birth to a sickly baby boy. No clergyman is willing to christen the boy since he's born out of wedlock, and Tess attempts to christen her dying child, Sorrow. She buries the baby at the corner of the churchyard with a homemade cross. Despite all this trauma that Tess has been through already, she has to keep carrying on. There is no choice here. With the burden of her past and knowing how society would perceive her, and with the ongoing responsibility toward her family, Tess takes up work as a dairymaid several villages over. So here, no one knows about her past, and she's able to make some friends and actually kind of enjoy her work. At the dairy farm, she meets Angel Clare, who is studying agriculture. His father is a clergyman. He is from higher class stock than Tess, but the two of them hit it off. They have a genuine connection. As their relationship progresses, Tess feels the need to inform him the truth of her past. But every time she tries to talk about it, Angel shuts her down and says, "Let's share confidences on our wedding night." On that fateful wedding night, the newlyweds retire to their room in private, and Angel discloses that on a trip to London in his youth, he once had an affair with an older woman. And Tess immediately forgives him. She says, "It doesn't matter. Past is the past. Please don't worry about it." And she believes, that they might be on even ground now. However, when she tells Angel about the assault and the resultant child who unfortunately died, Angel is mortified, despite the fact that he is also not pure, and despite the fact that Tess was not a willing participant in the act. Angel believes that Tess has deceived him. He believes she is not the pure country maiden that he took her for. He leaves for Brazil without her. And once again, Tess is left to face the judgment of society alone. So I was discussing this with my sister, whom I adore. She's my best friend. She's an enthusiastic reader like myself. And we were talking about this story, and she said, "To me, Angel Clare is the most hateable, most despicable character in all of literature." And it's no wonder why. I mean, he had the means to save Tess from her circumstances. It was going to happen. He could have been her savior. He had a chance to accept her and heal her from her wounds. And I think it's no coincidence that Hardy called him Angel. It's a great irony because he could have been her angel. And he's a hypocrite. I mean, he confesses to her that he has a body count. He should have been willing to accept whatever she had to say. This double standard is reflected in today's incel community, if you can call it a community. These little boys believe that it's okay for them to have a body count, but for a woman, it is unforgivable. And so we come to our third toxic male archetype, Angel the incel. It's really upsetting. I mean, they could have had a happy marriage. He could have been upset about the fact that the woman he claims to love was assaulted by this horrible man. But instead, he chose to focus on the fact that it makes her impure. Now, the rest of the story is equally, if not more, depressing. But since I've come to my third point here, I'll let you read the rest of the story, and I'll stick to the issue at hand here. These three toxic male archetypes, the deadbeat father, the predator, and the incel, they still exist today. This book was written in the late 19th century, and here we are just, 130 years later, and not much has changed. These horrible men and the atrocities that they are able to commit against women and society at large are still very active in today's world. So what do we do about it? I see a lot of discourse online about, we need to raise better boys. And I agree. I think that's absolutely true. But I think there's a little detail missing on how we go about that. A lot of times, mothers get the blame for how their children turn out. But in this case especially, it starts with the father. Men need to step up. Boys learn how to be men from their fathers. If they see deadbeats, predators, and incels all around them, that is unfortunately how they're going to learn to behave. Men like to comment under women's posts about fatherless behavior, but the father who left is the one at fault here. So you see that how this double standard gets continually used against women. If these behaviors are continually displayed for young men, who else can they turn to? This gap is what has made space for these extremist online groups. young men who have felt disillusioned with what it means to be a man, or they were brought up without a strong father figure. They flock to these false prophets and gobble up whatever they have to say. Therefore, it is my position that the only way for men to heal and for boys to have better upbringing is for fathers, uncles, brothers to become better examples themselves and to set a higher standard for boys to follow. That's not to say that boys don't learn anything from their mothers or vice versa. Of course, this is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to raising children. But if you have spent any time around children, you will notice they they don't always do as you say, they do as you do. They are aware when you're being hypocritical. They follow your lead and they pick up on things that are unsaid. It's very much monkey see, monkey do. Thus, if men set a better example for boys, if men treat their wives better and boys witness it, if men stand up for others and boys see this, they are going to follow suit. Sadly, this hasn't been the case for many centuries because the bar for men has been so low. But I want to look on the bright side. There are men who get it. There are strong, gentle fathers in the world. There are, amazing communities of men advocating for positive examples of masculinity. There is a healing movement happening here. So let us look to those men on how to behave and how to show boys what it means to be a man. I'm so lucky that I married one of these amazing men. He is a present, gentle father and a wonderful provider. He waits for me to accept his advances and he never pushes me. He has also accepted me for all of my flaws from day one. So I pray that we find them. I pray that we raise them. And I pray that stories like Tess will one day become a thing of the past. So that is my video for today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.